Hi everyone. So last week we discussed positive messages in chapter 8. So today in chapter 9 we are looking at sending negative messages. Now this is very important. First of all, we know that no one wants to receive bad news. Everybody wants to be happy, everybody wants to be joyful. We all know that, folks. However, there are times, look at the situation that we're in. This is negative situation. We're in lockdown. We're facing a disease. We're a disease that we spread to other people. Okay. So when you're looking at now remember too, the emails that you're going to be doing as entry level or middle supervisors to managers in training are not going to be extremely serious emails. This is not an opera. This is not life and death. But the idea is that and the same thing when you're talking to other people, remember, think about the other person. I'll get into that more a little later. So let's take a look at applying okay, hold on a second. Applying the 3x3 writing process to negative messages. You know the 3x3, first of all, is planning. Then the next one is doing the actual writing. And then, of course, it's revising. So that's your 3x3. And in between those, inside of all of those, the planning and the writing and the editing revising, the editing and proofreading, there are steps inside. So the same thing with this with a negative message. Analyze the bad news. What's the message that you are sending to the individual or to the group? Anticipate its effect on the receiver. Extremely important. You do not want to receive bad news. Since you don't want to receive bad news, you as the person delivering the bad news have to remember that the receiver doesn't want to hear bad news. None of us want, by our human nature, none of us wants to hear bad news. The problem with the 24/7 news on CNN and Fox and all of those other news services, they almost capitalize totally on bad news and have made us conditioned to listen to bad news. All right? So, but by nature, we really like to hear good news, just the same way we react beautifully to the sun as opposed to cloudy days. Announce the bad news directly if the disappointment will be mild. And that is what you will be dealing with, mild disappointment. Don't sit down there and think you're going to send somebody to the electric chair or the lethal injection. Use techniques to reduce the pain if the bad news is serious. Well, of course, we're not getting to that point. Okay? So, looking at phase 2, research, gather information, and brainstorm for ideas. Jot down all the reasons you have to explain the bad news. So first of all, you're analyzing what the bad news is and figuring out how you're going to explain the bad news and the reason why you have to explain the bad news, why you have to give bad news. Now, this is also for verbal or oral communication. Think about how you talk to your children. Think about how you talk to your peers. Think about how you talk to your significant others. This is the same thing. Remembering that nobody likes to receive bad news. So since you have to give bad news, saying to yourself, what is the bad news? And also sitting down the reason why you have to give the bad news. That's very important. So you're just not giving. And so that means that when you write, when you do the assignment, you're concentrating on these points. You're not just rolling out of bed and typing some nonsense. All right? Now, you're not doing that, but for the most part, I want you to stop and think about how important it is for you to plan what you're saying, especially with bad news. Okay? Wonderful. Okay, now, present only the strongest and safest reasons, include ample explanation of the negative situation, and avoid fixing blame. That is very important. There are so many people, and I'm not even going to start with the President of the United States, who's always ready to blame somebody else. Assume responsibility. Assume the responsibility, of course, without making yourself liable. All right? Again, we're not talking about murder, or we're not talking about something serious. And you'll see some examples later on when I show you this. So just be conscious of the fact that nobody wants to hear bad news. Nobody wants to know the reasons that make no sense as to why you're receiving the bad news. And for sure, when you have children and you catch your child doing something wrong, that child obviously cannot say, I didn't do anything wrong. What does the child say? Mary made me do it, or I had to do it. It's almost like the Adam and Eve, the devil made me do it. Okay? No, nobody wants to hear that. What is the reason for the bad news or the negative? What is the bad news? What's the reason? And how is this going to be fixed? Okay? Read that now. For everything that you're doing in writing, read the message carefully to ensure that it says what you intend. That's why you proofread. You're proofreading for content, you're proofreading for sentence structure, as well as grammar and all of that. But number one, is this email or is this letter saying exactly what I wanted to say? Check the wording to be sure that you are concise without being abrupt. Now, I know some of you have really say, well, you know, Americans are so abrupt. New Yorkers in particular are so abrupt as opposed to in my country. That is your country. It's nice, but here you are. And if we don't want to be abrupt, but neither do we want to sit down and spend 50 years saying how wonderful a person is, and then in one sentence give a negative and then say goodbye. No. Read the sentences to see if they sound like a conversation and flow smoothly. And this is important because some of you are English language learners, which is wonderful. You can speak 2 and 3 languages. The only language I can speak is English. So I'm not as conversed and as proficient in language learning as you are. Meaning that since you're learning English, avoid these big and haughty words that you're using which make no sense. Remember, write to the audience or to the person as if that person only had a high school diploma or equivalency. You don't know if people have a master's or a PhD. Okay? So never write above them. You certainly wouldn't talk to a 4-year-old the same way that you would talk to your mother or you would talk to your spouse, your significant other, or a colleague. No way. So know your audience. Is very important that you do that. Okay? And we know you have to revise, proofread, evaluate, make sure the tone is friendly and respectful. Check format, evaluate. Is it too blunt, too subtle? Is it clear but professional? Okay? That's important. That's with all of your writing. Okay. Now, in terms of the legality, all right, avoid abusive language, sexist language, okay, saying something stupid, because when you put something in writing, that's it. If I were to record, this recording is in public view. So I have to be conscious of how I'm speaking to you. Okay? Okay. Now, this is important. This is almost like a fixing blame. Leave whatever problems that the company has with the company. Don't put the dirty laundry out there to the person that you're sending the email or the letter. The factory is too hazardous for our group means absolutely nothing and it's no business of anybody else. Because once you say the factory is too hazardous, well then why would anybody want to go to the factory? And you would show everybody, don't go to that factory because it's hazardous. All right? You simply state, at this point, conditions are such that we would appreciate your coming for a tour in May or June. Aren't the conditions hazardous for us now? Nobody needs to know that we can't go anywhere. We know that. But once you are going, you're taking a group of students or you're taking your family or you're having a reunion in a park and they're doing construction in the park and you make the request, the park isn't going to tell you we're doing construction. The park should say to you, there are circumstances right now that you would enjoy the park better if you came in August rather than in June. You see where I'm going with this. Okay? Now, avoiding the good guy syndrome. For example, I thought you were an excellent candidate, but we had to hire. Don't ever tell anybody that they were excellent and you didn't hire them. Okay? Express only the views of the organization when acting as an agent of the organization. Okay? So when you're writing and you're saying no to a request, make sure that it's not me personally. Or it's not I personally. Forgive the bad grammar. Okay, let's take a look at, okay, that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. I just want to go into something more. This. Okay, you need a buffer, a neutral or positive opening that does not reveal the bad news. Okay, so now this is very different from your sending an email saying, the email that you sent last week, inviting me to attend a seminar. All right? So that's very different. When you say, Professor Sandy, we're having a seminar, you're invited to all of this other stuff. This is bad news. All right. So the first thing that you do is thank you for your support. Thank you for your cooperation. Thank you for your business. One sentence, period. Thank you for your request. We are grateful. Thank you for your request. And we have enjoyed your business in the past. Okay, good. Now, when you do explanation for the causes for the bad news, at this point, we are in a position to grant your request at a later time. No negative words. Did you hear what I said? Thank you for your request. We appreciate we appreciate your doing business with us. At this point, we will be able to fulfill your request in May or June, and we are able at this point to do ABC. That is very important. If you cannot do something, if you have to say no without saying the word no, offer an alternative. This is what I'm looking for when you do your emails. What I'm looking for is the you attitude. What I'm looking for is saying no without using negative words. And number 3, equally important, is the alternative. When your child asks you to go to, obviously in the past or when this is all over, and the child says the class is going on a field trip and you want to go, and you say no, you've ended that conversation. Give the child an alternative and the reason. Okay, I understand, Mary, that you want to go to the Museum of Natural History. However, we have an appointment with the doctor and I really need to have you with me. That's an alternative. And the child will say, okay, well, that makes sense. Okay, may not be happy, but at least you've respected that individual enough to give it an alternative. That's the point. You respect somebody enough. These are your clients. These are the people that you are doing business with and are giving you money. So you have to show them respect. Now, I didn't say anything about liking. That old stuff, liking and love, is for church. That is not the point. All right? Understand where we're coming from with this. Okay, just give me 1 second. I forgot that this was on, so let me just log out so you don't hear all of this nonsense. Okay, just give me a minute to get back. Good. Sorry about that, folks. All right, so the same thing, looking at delivering bad news sensitively. Start with the part of the message that represents the best news. Pay a compliment. I don't believe in paying compliments. Acknowledge the fact that this person who's making the request is a client of yours. Thank you for your business. Thank you for your support of our corporation. Thank you for everything that you, something to that effect. Show appreciation for a past action or refer to something mutually understood. Avoid raising false hopes. Now, again, God forbid, but at some point the doctor is going to tell me I have something and I'm going to die. So I don't want the doctor to tell me, oh, you're healthy and you're going to live a long life. No, that's not the reality. Avoid raising false hopes. That means that, let's say you wanted the company to donate $5,000. Well, the company cannot give you the money, and it should not say to you, in the future we'll be able to give you $10,000. You as the person writing the email, you don't know that. So avoid raising false hopes. Okay? Consider apologizing if you or your company erred. That's very important. We are sorry for your inconvenience. We are sorry for the error that happened. Do so sincerely, and we will take responsibility, and we will make sure to look into this matter and respond as quickly as possible. Okay? You know how to do all of this. You've read emails. You've seen all of the things that you don't like and that turn you off. So why do you continue doing this? That's the whole point of having these exercises. That's the whole point of taking this class, or what I like to consider as a workshop. Okay? All right. Explain clearly why the request must be denied without revealing the refusal, meaning no, meaning saying no without using the word no. Show how your decision benefits the receiver or others if possible. Offer an alternative, and you'll see that the alternative will help the person. Explain company policy without using it as an excuse and without making it demanding. Our company, in the best interest for all concerned, the company has always requested that customers follow the particular procedure. Okay? Now, again, I use a lot of extra words, but that's because I'm thinking off the top of my head. So that's very, very important. Okay? Choose positive words, avoid negative. Look at this. Choose positive words. Very, 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 very important. Avoid negative words such as cannot, claim, error, failure, unwilling, impossible. Show that the matter was treated seriously and fairly. Very, very, very important. Okay? And these are some others. Okay? What we talked about just a few minutes ago, consider positioning the bad news strategically by sandwiching it between other sentences, meaning you start with something positive, you end with positive, and then you have the bad news with the alternative. Consider subordinating, although another commitment that day prevents me from attending, I wish you well. Consider using the passive voice. I don't want to get into that. Okay, accentuate the positive by describing what you can do, not what you cannot do. That's crucial. Always talk about what you can do. Never tell anybody what you cannot do. The only thing you cannot do anyway is rise from the dead. So everything else is within the realm of possibility. Suggest a compromise or an alternative if one exists. Very important. Look forward to future relations. Supply more information about an alternative. Offer good wishes, compliments, or freebies, coupons, sample gifts. Avoid referring to the refusal. Use resale or promotions, sales promotion if appropriate. Okay? Very, very important. Okay? So that's what I really wanted to make sure that you understand. Now, some of you prefer having a class. I think the video is fine. This is my preference of showing you a little video. Right now, this video is going into almost 20 minutes, which is really long. But if you have any questions about the assignment, what should you do? If you're comfortable talking to me, you can email me or text me when we can talk on the phone. Okay, or if my office hours are from 10 to 11 at night. That's when my office hours are. So if you call me before 10 o'clock at night and I'm not available, that means you're going to have to wait until 10 o'clock because I may be at a meeting or I may be doing something else. I'm not always sitting in front of the computer. So 10 to 11 is when I dedicate. I will have Blackboard Collaborate open. You know how to get into Blackboard Collaborate from your other classes. Just come in, say hello, and say I have a question, and we can go on from there. Even if you want me to go over the video again with you, the points in the video, that's fine. Because the video comes from the PowerPoint Chapter 9, which is in your Blackboard assignment. Okay? It's already there. This class is not secretive. Everything is up there, uploaded. All right? So just go through the assignments and I will answer any questions that you have. Okay? This is an exciting chapter, Chapter 8, because it shows your creativity. It shows what you can do. And remember, always think of the person to whom you're communicating. Okay, folks, thanks so much. And I will talk to you next week. Oh, that's the other thing. This is not due until April 20th. This is an online class. So we're following the spring break. So you have plenty of time to give me something, even though it's a draft and you may have to revise, but try to make it as perfect as you possibly can so that you could avoid having to revise again. Okay? Thanks so much, folks, and I'm praying that all of you are safe and well. Bye-bye.